As video games have progressed throughout the years, one of the most interesting developments is how much we consider the story of the game alongside the gameplay. Nowadays, many people love to play a good game and rave not only about its fun gameplay or amazing graphics, but also its stellar writing, gripping plot, incredible characters, and brilliant world. It makes sense then that more and more games have focused a lot on their world building, using comic books, novelizations, and other media to add to their franchise and to their world. However, like always, there are just some video games that do it better than the rest. So, here are some of the best when it comes to world building. 8. Dragon Age Origins shows writers how to introduce a new world. One of the most difficult things if you're building an entire world is not only how it works, but how you're going to introduce it to the player. Whenever you create a world, you also have to create a narrative that explores it well. For example, the same way a person born in America and a person born in China could have very different upbringings and understanding of the world around them, the same applies to fictional worlds. Thankfully, Dragon Age Origins knows exactly how to set everything up, letting you choose different backgrounds that each offer a unique and interesting foray into the world of Ferelden as you learn more about the kingdom, the Darkspawn, magic, and more. 7. Fallout, New Vegas, an amazing expansion of an established world. Another interesting thing about world building is that it is not just introducing a world, but expanding upon it. Considering Fallout, New Vegas was made by some of the same developers behind Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. The creators had a chance to develop a world that they had already helped create further by showing what had happened years later. With Fallout, New Vegas, we witnessed the expansion of old factions such as the NCR and Great Khans, once known as the New Khans, new factions such as Caesar's Legion, and continues to further develop new locations, returning themes, and overall create a satisfying expansion to an established world that just makes it all the more interesting. 6. Suzerain, featuring rich history and great depth. We've covered fantasy worlds or post-apocalyptic worlds, but what about a historical world? That's where Suzerain comes in. Based on far too many countries, historical events, parallels, and so on to count from our world, the developers of Suzerain have crafted a realistic alternate world that is similar to our own, but with its own unique branding. Suzerain sees you as the president of the fictional nation Swordland, navigating its complex history, geopolitics, culture, and more. From newly invented foods to completely different continents, this world offers a lot of depth that is fun to get lost in. 5. Frostpunk. On the other hand, we have worlds based around alternate history. This is where Frostpunk shines. Set in the late 1800s, the game takes place in a world where a volcanic winter has swept over most of the world, plunging civilizations into an icy apocalypse. Although the game doesn't tell you too much about the lore, you can always find out more, from theories as to why the world has gone so cold to interesting developments about the state of the world and how humans will try to survive. It's overall a very unique take on an apocalyptic scenario, creating an intriguing world that makes you want to find out more. 4. Bloodborne, an iconic eldritch world telling its story. Another important aspect of world building is not just its lore, but its atmosphere. How does a world make you feel? Bloodborne offers such an atmosphere, featuring an iconic world with eldritch inspirations and a gritty, dark atmosphere. However, From Software also has a fantastic way of letting players explore the world on their own, finding items, reading their flavor text, and piecing together what lore they can. This means that instead of lore dumps, players can willingly go to find out as much as they can about the world, hooked on through great writing alone. 3. Disco Elysium. In Disco Elysium, you play as a man going through amnesia, which is the perfect setup to ask concerned characters about basic, matter-of-fact questions about the world you live in. Not only does Disco Elysium portray a seemingly dying world with its own nations, history, and legacy, but it also exposes much of its lore exclusively through its characters. As a result, its character writing is absolutely top tier, with dozens of interesting and complex characters that bring fresh new perspectives and information about the world at hand, while you play as an amnesiac detective, learning both about this incredibly detailed world and the mysterious case you've been assigned to. 2. BioShock atmospheric with masterfully crafted world building, similar to Dragon Age. Origins. BioShock has the burden of introducing the player to an entirely new world. No matter how good the lore is on paper, you have to create a way in which the audience can digest it in a way that feels both interesting and natural. Thankfully, the story of Jack and his adventures through the desecrated underwater utopia known as Rapture does a stellar job of building up a setting influenced by capitalist imperialism and using such a setting to give us more information about the world. One God of War, 2018, builds a whole mythological world. To explore, it may seem odd to have God of War of all games on a list like this, but the 2018 soft reboot, God of War, gives us something special, another mythology to explore. With the inclusion and exploration of Norse mythos, we also find out that other mythologies from the Celts to Japan now exist. As a result, it has created a fantastical world where these different religions intermingle, and the game shows off a fantastical retelling of Norse myth that not only builds up this new world, but helps shine these divine figures in a new light, being the bedrock for many potential stories exploring other mythologies. That's all the 8 games with the best world building. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe for more amazing gaming content.